Oh, my flexibility is terrible. I did gymnastics when I was from the age of like 6 to like 11.
Wow, that's a lot.
Even then, when I was doing gymnastics, I had the worst flexibility of all the boys. Even though I'd been doing it for a really long time, and obviously there's a lot of stretching and stuff, I was still terrible at it now. Now, as an adult, when I don't stretch at all, it's terrible. I woke up at like 7, and then I was up for a half an hour, and then I woke up 3 hours later, and I just kind of felt off. And you woke up at 2?
I woke up a little before. I woke up at 1:45, and that's because I was up until like 4 in the morning doing nothing. Actually, I have nothing to show for it. I don't have like any game progress or any Valorant rank or more Dota matches or like any writing done or work done. I laid in my bed watching Avatar, eating like a mini pie. It's a great pie. And that was it. That was the entirety of my night. So yeah, I'm a slob.
I mean, how far are you in Avatar now?
Book 3, episode 6 or 7 ish, I think.
Okay, we're about the same area. We're cruising through it pretty quickly.
It's wild that really on a whim and unbeknownst and not talking to each other about it, we both did that at the same time and are about the same place. Sometimes the universe is just kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I've always been meaning to get into Avatar because there's certain like anime stuff that like Naruto, for example, I probably will never. Maybe I'll get into it, but
it's so
like I tried
long.
Bleach at some point in time. Like that was after like the 3rd season or something. I could not watch any more of that. A lot of like the traditional like anime stuff.
I think it's the stuff they call shonen anime, right? Which I don't really understand, but that's kind of like your Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece stuff, right? I find it hard to get into that, and just the barrier of entry of knowing that it is, I don't know, 17 days worth of content is really staggering.
Yeah, Avatar is really good though. I quite like it. The humor is still really on point. There was plenty of moments where I actually legit laugh out loud because just fun characters that they have. Good moments, good jokes.
I watched it. I remember watching it in middle school. I was it was on Vimeo. Like all the episodes were ripped and on Vimeo, and I swear I watched it the entire first time in like 360p because it was impossible to watch on Nickelodeon because of the way that they actually like premiered television. They were just random episodes in random order, and you got nothing. Really, I don't understand why Nickelodeon commissioned the show in the first place because it makes no sense that for the way that they do broadcasting. But yeah, I watched it in 360p, and then 10 years later, I'm watching it again on my crusade to rewatch TV, and I'm like, fuck, this is still good.
All I know is I hate Nickelodeon. You want to know why?
Why do you hate Nickelodeon?
Because the intro at every start of every episode, the Nickelodeon like soundtrack, the bum 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 ba that is so loud compared to the rest of it. It's so obnoxious. I hate it every single time.
Yeah, I have fond young Nick. I was like a Nick Jr. kid. So I remember like Face, who was like the host for all the children's programming, would come on, and I'd be really excited about that. I think I watched an episode of Fairly Odd Parents every day before school for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. So I was definitely a primarily Nick kid, and my sister was always a Nick at Night person. That's how I've watched way too many episodes of Full House. It's really not a good TV show.
Yeah, and I don't know any of this, so.
Man, it's been a minute since we've got to talk. We're still apart because of this whole world situation. I've been convinced that I have corona for like, I don't know, a week at this point.
Uh-huh.
Like,
so
okay.
Is this your paranoia that's going on, or do you have actual symptoms?
Okay, so hear me out. Every time I exercise, I get winded hella quick. Like
okay, just you're being out of shape.
No. Like comparing me exercising right now to me exercising a month ago. Like okay. I'm just getting winded very quickly for no reason. I bought a bike, which I'm very happy about. I bought a bicycle. I've been cycling around like to the beach. It's been great, dude. I'm trying to work on these abs. Anywho, I get winded super quickly. Okay, I've had a headache for like 3 days. That's a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
No cough, no fever. No cough, no fever.
Okay.
But I took a strip of gum last night from just like my pack of Spearmint Extra, which I've chewed, and that's like my gum. Do you have a gum? Like, do you always get the same gum?
I only chew gum when I only get gum when I am at the airport. And it's the Trident. It's like one of those 2 flavor ones. So yes, I know what you're talking about.
Is that like for ear popping on planes?
Yeah, just like general, like when you're on a plane for that long, you just kind of get bored. And I like snacking and I like sweets a lot, and gum will at least keep me like I can chew on something and it's sweet without me like eating a shit ton of candy.
Okay, fair.
That's basically the reason.
I'm a big gum person for a number of reasons. I think that it's great if you need to stay awake. Like a tool for like if you're working late or studying or something, because it's really hard to fall asleep when you're actively chewing gum. I like that it's like simulated eating because I'm a fat ass and I always want to be stuffing my face with food. So it's like I can trick myself into that I'm eating, and then just pure mouth flavor. Anywho, my affinity for gum aside, I took a piece of my Spearmint Extra and I stuck it in my mouth last night, and I'm like, oh no, I can't really taste this.
Okay. So it could be.
Yeah.
You've got very mild symptoms, though.
I have incredibly mild symptoms. And I could just be being a psychosomatic, dumb idiot, too. That's also an option of what's going on here.
And have you been outside? Like, have you been somewhere you could have caught it?
Oh, man. Yes, in the sense that I go to the market like once a week.
Sure.
I mean, I'm riding this bicycle around, but I'm never touching anything that's not the bicycle or within more than like 6 feet of people. So I'm not too worried about that or the walks that I go on. Mostly just the market. I went to go get an MRI for my finger on Monday, and at like an imaging facility. And I was really paranoid about being there because I'm like, I'm touching the MRI equipment and I'm like in there and I'm like face down on a pillow, and there's other people there who are like getting chest x-rays and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be in a medical building.
Yeah, I also have to get a MRI relatively soon, so I was already supposed to have it like a month ago, and that was like middle of like, that was right as we were quarantining everything, like 2 weeks after we'd quarantined everything and stuff. So I was just like, I'm not feeling down to go to a medical facility at all. But it's now gone on long enough at this point in time that it's like, well, I have to do normal things like go to the doctor. So
yeah,
is this your finger that you hurt a while ago?
It's still fucked up. It's still fucked up. Like
Jesus,
right,
Joey?
I know.
You've got to take care of yourself, dude.
I am taking care of myself. I've been taping it. I've been doing everything the doctor says. I have to go. I have a digital appointment on Tuesday to get the MRI results. Have you ever had an MRI before, or is this going to be your first one?
No, I've had it before.
Man, I didn't think I was claustrophobic before the MRI, but now I might be. Maybe. Because it was on my hands, I'm like, okay, they're just gonna, I don't have to go all the way in the tube, right? It's a hand. I can just, it's an extremity. I can put it out. And the answer was no. Like I went full body in there. But they made me do like a Superman pose where my hands were in front of my head. I was like extended and stretched out. And it just became so shitty after like 20 minutes. It was like 30 minutes to scan literally my small finger. I don't understand. Like, it's the smallest part of the body. I don't understand why it took 30 minutes to take all the pictures. But I'm like sore and my shoulders twisted and I'm like laying face down, breathing into this pillow, kind of suffocating myself, and everything's cramping, and I didn't have a great time. I don't have glowing MRI reviews.
So I'm not claustrophobic, but I do not like the noise. The noise bothers me quite a bit.
The noise didn't bother me that much. Like, yes, it was loud, but I spent most of the time trying to like think in my head what the different noises could be. Like what was like metal clanking around and what was electricity and when were they actually taking pictures versus, whatever else was going on. So I was fine with the noise. The ladies
I just try and zen it, I'm just trying to meditate while I'm sitting there. That's what I try and do. But the noise is so loud that I can't get to that place.
Yeah, it wasn't the best experience ever. I'm very interested to see what happens on Tuesday when the doctor's like, "Hey, so by the way, gonna have to have surgery." And I'll be like, "Awesome. Can't wait. Super excited." Man, so I'm literally falling apart. I may or may not have corona based on my self-diagnosis of not being able to taste gum, which saying that out loud does sound a little bit crazy, but anywho.
What if it was just a piece of gum that they just didn't put any of the sugar on?
Yeah, I know, that could have been it.
And Joey's like, I've got it. I've got the coronas.
I'm not going to the market anymore now. I'm just gonna stay inside for a little bit, see if things get worse, keep taking my temperature, figure it out, keep on watching Avatar, keep on playing Dota. I played more Dota last week than I have in probably the past month combined. Because Blitz hit me up at like something dumb like 2 a.m. and he's like, "Hey, I gotta get an account at a low priority. You want to play with me?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, we're just trying to get Boxy out of low priority, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if I was gonna.
I'll say it.
So him and I are playing from Los Angeles, going all the way to the East Coast servers with like it's like him, me, Charlie, some other people were playing, and it was not a pleasant experience because I learned low priority, something that I've never been in because I am the most impeccable, nicest Dota player ever who never abandons, never says bad things, doesn't get reports. My conduct summary is like perma 10,000. I'm like an upstanding citizen. The Chinese government would love me. And I didn't know that like low priority is single draft. And boy, was there so we were playing on the EU servers, which is already a problem. And then anyone who wants to play mid is having a problem. And then I'm having a problem with my hero pool because it's giving me like Void Spirit, Snapfire, Mars, and I'm like, great. The 3 newest heroes, the ones who I know the least about, who I have the least amount of time of games with, great. Or then it would give me like supports that I can't play. Like I have a dirty little Dota secret, and that is I really don't know how to play Shadow Demon. I've been playing
you don't know how he works.
As in, like, I kind of know how he works, but I don't know how he works. If you asked me to rank my knowledge of every hero and how to play them in order, like I made a complete list of them, Shadow Demon would be, like, the second from the bottom. With the bottom one being Void Spirit. I really don't know how to play Void Spirit. I've never really played a Void Spirit.
Isn't this situation the best possible time for you to learn that? Because you're literally, all you are, Joey, is a warm body for Boxy and Blitz to carry and get their low priority done.
But I can still ruin a game by myself. I can still completely ruin a game if I needed to or wanted to or was playing poorly enough.
But ruining that game has nothing to do with you playing Shadow Demon. It has everything to do with you just not running into the enemy. Yeah, you can play literally any hero, just not run into the enemy, and you don't ruin the game.
Any support hero.
Yes.
Like, yeah. So I was trying to learn how to properly shadow poison, harass, and when to apply my ult, and Blitz is yelling at me. Never yelling. He's way too nice to yell. But I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry.
But he does the deep sigh. He goes
kind of.
I really think we should be doing this right now, guys.
Yeah.
I have played so many pubs with Blitz. I have been on teams, quote unquote, with Blitz. I know exactly what Blitz sounds like when he's getting frustrated, but he's trying to hold himself back, and he makes passive aggressive comments and a lot of sighing.
It's also like, we're there are other people who like aren't, blitz or boxy level on this team. I'm not the only person who's like totally sandbagging something. It's very late at night. We're playing on the EU servers. I don't think blitz was slept for like 48 hours, something before that. Like there was a cacophony of situations that were not conducive to these being good Dota games.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of fun. And I still don't know how to play Shadow. I still don't know how to play Shadow Demon. I really need to just go take him into like some bot games and learn, so that I can like get that little secret out of like my myself.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say, cacophony does not work in that situation. Only reason I'm calling you out on this is because I have done this many times. I think for whatever reason, just like it's one of those language evolved sort of things, but people have just taken that word and just been like, mixture of everything. But I've been called out on enough casts that it is specifically ordered to noise.
It's like a music term, right? It's like it's a term from music when there's like so many loud noises going on that you can't really discern what's happening.
Yeah.
So you can't use it at all if you're not talking about sound or music.
You cannot. Even though like I naturally thought like, it kind of works that way. Like, no, the definition is very clear. It's about noise.
I'm gonna call up fucking Mrs. Webster. I'm gonna call Merriam-Webster tonight and be like, "Excuse me, I have a complaint about the dictionary," because
okay. I'm totally with you on that because I am far from a stickler on these sort of things. I hate it. I hate it when people like try and call me out on a definition of a word, even though when it comes to how the word is used in regular modern vocabulary, it does change. That's the thing. Language is fluid. Language changes over time, and people need to accept that, right? Like I know one of the biggest things that people harp on is literally, like how that has actually changed to not mean literally at all, to mean the opposite of literally. And I don't really care about that so much, but I know people really hate that.
I think grammar is a little bit more important than proper word uses most of the time, or even like spelling. Like I can be like a stickler for grammar. I'll be like, dude, that's a great place for a semicolon, or like, you really shouldn't have a comma there. But other than that, like I really don't care too much about that stuff. I like being able to. I've always said a lot of words wrong. And that's because I've read a lot of words wrong and just never heard people say them. And I've been embarrassed a plethora of times of people being like, you say that word wrong. And I think I've finally gotten to the point where I've said all the wrong words out loud enough to where people have corrected me. I normally harass people about not word usage, or I guess about word uses for things like a good versus well. Like I'll normally just in like some kind of snarky, annoying voice correct people on that for the sake of like comedy sometimes, more so than just actually caring.
Being annoying comedy.
Yeah. Sometimes they're one and the same. It's like you're playing a character.
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, at the end of what I really hate is when people understand what you're saying and they feel the need to correct you anyway. When like my whole entire job is about communication, right? That's what commentary is communicating my thoughts and my story of the game to the audience. And when people on like Reddit specifically understand what I was saying and the definition of the word that I'm talking about is close enough to what I was meaning to say, like you knew where I was going with that. Like the communication, it worked. The word that I said, it worked. Just like when you said cacophony, it did work. I understood what you meant. Yeah. So that is the one thing that I hate about people is that like people are sticklers for that sort of stuff. Like, what do they have to say about like words have changed from the 1800s? Like, if you were a stickler about things, you would keep the original definition. So we go back to the 1800s. Like again, language changed. I hate. That's just one of the things that I hate that people do.
Yeah, people suck. Holistically. Oh god.
But yes, you're playing more Dota, which is great. I'm playing the least Dota I've actually ever played.
I've seen you.
I don't really know what's going on.
I've seen you. I mean, I wanted to ask because there's been so many 7.62 ABCDEFG patches, but I don't even know if you know as much about them as you want to. I've been watching you either through Discord or Steam, just launching up like 70 other games that aren't Dota, and because we're not friends on Riot, you don't know how much I'm playing Valorant, but you know.
So what my schedule is right now, like when it comes to, like, I have a lot of experience with this quarantine situation, right? Like people have a lot of free time, not a whole lot of direction. That's what commentary is between events, right? It's like you're home and you don't have a clear idea of what you should be doing. So I've kind of developed, whenever I get into these long drawn out like times a period where I don't have anything to do, I develop a schedule of sorts. So right now my schedule is wake up in the morning, usually, or I'm trying to do yoga.
Usually, sometimes
Ellie.
you don't wake up. Okay.
So yeah, sometimes I just sleep the no. Sometimes we just skip yoga because we're not feeling like it. But I'm trying to do yoga now, so that's a thing.
Is this? Hold, I have to stop you. Is this like first time yoga? Like, is this like brand new?
Yeah, I've never done
experience?
yoga before.
How would you rate yourself in terms of general flexibility?
Oh, my flexibility is terrible. I did gymnastics when I was from the age of like 6 to like 11.
Wow, that's a lot.
And even then, when I was doing gymnastics, I had the worst flexibility of all the boys. Even though I had been doing it for a really long time, and obviously there's a lot of stretching and stuff, I was still terrible at it now. Now, as an adult, when I don't stretch at all, it's terrible. Ellie is routinely surprised at how inflexible I am.
Two questions. One, can you touch your toes?
No. I mean, with keeping my legs straight, not even close.
I also am incredibly not close to doing that. My hamstrings are comically tight. Like I'll probably hurt them one day. I'll probably hurt my hamstrings because they're so tight.
If I keep my legs straight, it just kind of looks like I'm casually reaching out, trying to touch my kneecaps. It looks like I'm not trying to stretch at all. It's terrible. Was
gymnastics your choice, or was that something that like your parents threw you in?
Okay, so I went to a private Adventist, which is a sect of Christianity.
Oh, it's a calendar.
It's a crazy one, but I went to a private school that was very, very small. So the only after school activity we had was gymnastics.
Oh shit.
We actually did not have any like baseball, football, anything like that. So yeah. I did that because it was the only thing we had.
Was there a particular gymnastics like activity or exercise that you were like that was your favorite? Were you like a parallel bars person, or did you really like the horse or the balance beam, or were you a math person?
No. So we were kids, so we actually did not get to any of like most of that stuff. Like we did have the balance beam, but we did not have what is the rings? Whatever that is.
The ring?
Like,
I think
we never got
rings,
to that.
Right?
Yeah, it might be. Most of the stuff that we were doing were like just floor like exercises. So like front handsprings, round off back handsprings, those sort of things. That was most of it. We basically our school wasn't that big and we're relatively poor. So the best we had was a balance beam, and I think we did have a ramped
horse
spring thing. A spring thing, so you could launch yourself in the air and do aerials and flips and shit.
I want to be able to, before I die, do a backflip. I've never been able to do it. I've gone to like trampoline parks. I've jumped off high things into water, and there's just like I think there's like a mental block for me, like either tucking or letting myself be vulnerable enough to jump backwards and flip. I can do a front flip pretty well. I can almost do a standing one. But
so the trick in gymnastics that we learned was that you don't go into it jumping. The first how you learn is being able to so when people go back on their hands, like they're flipped up with their belly up in the air,
like in a bridge.
Yeah, like they're forming a human bridge of sorts. Yeah, so you just basically learn to go back like that, and then be able to kick your feet up from that position. And then once you're able to fluidly do that, then at that point in time, a back handspring is nothing, right? It's just you doing that a little bit faster.
Okay. I'm gonna
And
go.
then from there, you'll get once you get the rotation fast enough, then at some point in time, you'll get to a place where you don't need to use your hands even.
Yeah, I used to have like a fantasy of being able to just like go to a diving board on a pool and just be able to do a backflip and be like, damn, I did a backflip. That's it. That's truly it. Like it's such a. But this is something that's
you
been
better
haunting
learn
me
now,
for years.
Joey.
I know. I'm only getting
Time is running out.
It's not going to happen when I'm 40 or 50. Like I'm in the prime years, and as I say that, I'm also terrified because what the fuck? These are the prime years? Oh no. Fuck.
So yeah, I'm doing yoga in the morning, and then I do some voice acting stuff after that. So I'm getting back into voice acting, hitting that really hard, and then after that, I will usually play some sort of game. So it's either I'm playing with friends. So you're in that group now. We're playing things like Catan online. We're using Tabletop Simulator. There's another game called Pummel Party that we're playing, which is basically a Mario Party ripoff, an adult version of Mario Party.
I gotta get into some Pummel Party tonight. I really haven't joined. I bought it and I have a controller, but I need to actually play.
I highly recommend that for anybody who's the Pummel Party or Tabletop Simulator or anything right now, just because you're not getting a whole lot of social interaction. So it's a good way to just get some of your friends, get a Discord group, and just play some tabletop games or something together. Or I'm just playing some other video games, playing XCOM or Gears Tactics. I was getting into those.
If you
just no Dota for whatever reason.
It's good to have a break of everything, right?
Mm-hmm,
If you like XCOM, did you ever fuck around with the Switch Mario Rabbids XCOM Lite version of XCOM?
I will get into that eventually. So there are many games that are on the Switch. Hollow Knight's like another one. If they're on the Switch, I don't want to touch them because they're airplane games at that point in time. So I need something to take up time when I'm flying around. So I will get to that eventually. But no, I haven't touched it yet.
I didn't really like XCOM that much, and I didn't expect to like Mario Rabbids, but I actually played through all of Mario Rabbids pretty quickly because I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. So I would recommend that,
heard
especially
really
if you like
good things about it. Yeah,
I was really surprised, and also I don't want to like the Rabbids franchise either. I don't like a lot of Ubisoft stuff for a reason that I don't even really know. But I would recommend that, and also Hollow Knight is literally my favorite Switch game. So yeah, good picks.
I will play those eventually. But yeah, part of the reason I'm not playing Dota is that the patches aren't really exciting me that much. I don't think the patches are bad. Let me just say that. I think, for example, in 7.26b, we had the denies no longer grant gold. Was it 7.28?
That feels significant, does it not?
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff is significant, but they're not fun, meaty changes. You know, this hero has a new ability or something like that. So while these patches are good for the game, so what Ice Frog is doing basically is he is cutting down. He's like taking these very broad nerfs across the board to gold, experience, to talents and stuff. And what it's basically saying is like, hey, we're going to bring back the mid game. We're going to bring back the early to mid game. And we're not going to have the late game happening at 30 minutes anymore. People are going to be picking up their items slower, which what that means is that it means heroes like Clockwork and Nyx Assassin. Remember I was complaining about these assassin type heroes aren't very good because they fall off so quickly. Like you're online at 15 minutes, but by 20 supports have Glimmer Capes and Force Staffs and 1500, 2000 HP. Like how can you possibly kill things if you only have a limited set of damage you can output, right?
I think about you when I think about Clockwork. Like you're very linked in my head. So yes.
Yes. I love Clockwork. He's by far my favorite hero. So Ice Frogs, I agree with these changes. They're just, the game feels kind of boring to me right now. Not that these changes aren't massive, but the meta surprisingly hasn't changed that much. And all it feels like is that, especially as a 3 position or sometimes a 4 position, all it feels like is it's just like, God, it's taken forever to get my item. You know, that's the only feeling that I'm getting from playing Dota right now. It's just like, because there's so much missing gold.
Well, I guess that's
in the world.
That's like what happens when like the car's driving at like 65 and then suddenly there's like a speed limit that slows you down to 50, right? It's like, well, like we're still in the car and getting to our destination, but we're just objectively going less fast. And oftentimes less fast is less fun. It's like people have been trained to be going like a certain pace or speed. And I feel like it's easier to speed something up because you can argue it makes it more exciting. But slowing something down and ratcheting it back is like inherently less fun in my brain.
Yes, for sure. Even if it will have side benefits that you may enjoy, like, for example, like killer heroes are better because other heroes don't get as much farm, they don't get as much like HP and stuff to survive, right? That inherently, I think, is more fun. Watching killing heroes, watching a quap move around the map and kill things is fun. It's creates a sense of action in the game. But playing it right now, especially since we are having such big changes, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with the patches, but inherently they're just not going to be super well balanced. The game's just not going to have a great direction for a little bit as things are figured out. Like people were complaining about the talent, the talent
20%,
20%. Like I mean that feels a little silly for sure in Eloquent, but you have to get data on this stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I got baited.
I think Dota is just in flux right now, and so whenever I'm playing Dota, I just feel like the game's a little weird right now, and it hasn't changed that much for me to really be interesting. So I've just been kind of taking a bit of a break.
And I anticipate it's going to keep on changing more too. So it's like you're just kind of missing like the awkward teenage years, and eventually like it'll be in a good spot, and you just
Yeah, especially with no TI, as that's another thing we got to talk about. But Valve finally said, hey, there is going to be no TI, or at least not at the time that you're expecting it to be.
I think the official language is postponed.
That's just weird for me because postponed implies that it's like a couple months later. But if you push it that much far later, let's say we're ready to go in December, then what does the next TI season look like? Are we changing TI's dates across the board? I don't think so. I think you like the time of the year that you had for TI. It leads to a very natural break during Christmas. Like you have a bit of action, then a natural break for Christmas and Chinese New Year, and then it really ramps up into TI. So I think you want to keep that timing, right?
Yeah, I think you do too. And it would be weird to do the opposite. Like maybe you have a January or February TI. Then do you really push through another TI in August, or even if you push it, September, October of 2021, that also probably feels funny. So I just read the announcement as there's not going to be a TI this year, and I think that's also what most people read into it as being. That still leaves the door open for something related or similar, or another event that might be like big but not TI LAN level. Like maybe there's a very intricate Valve funded online tournament that happens towards the end of the year that's region specific, and we're crowning like regional winners. I think there's probably some way to salvage maybe not the exact feeling of TI. You can't replicate that without having, TI proper, right? But there has to be some way to give people something exciting that feels worthwhile. But maybe not. Maybe we just kind of sit in this weird holding pattern. We let these other tournament organizers do whatever they want to do. Maybe, Valve takes this all as data for whatever they want to do for the DPC next year. Maybe that starts early. Maybe that gets adjusted a little bit. Like, it's weird because no one really knows.
Mm-hmm. I feel like TI and the meta of Dota are in the same place, where it's like the competitive, we're in this like weird, awkward phase, and same goes for the meta itself. So I feel like in a month or two, once we get, I'm hoping we're going to see like a 7.2.7 update at some point in time, a really big update that changes maybe some heroes, that changes the map a little bit, like something like that, a really big change. Since we're no longer going to have TI, so we no longer have to balance for TI, we can have a big chat. That's what I hope, right? Once we have like slowed down the game, and once we have like done these things to kind of revert some of the changes that have happened to bring Dota back to where it's been, now then you need a big patch to push it in a different direction, right? It went to the right. Now you're pulling it back to that split in the road, and now you're going to go the opposite direction. I feel like that's what we should be heading for. At least that's what I hope anyway, because if Dota for, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just in a weird place, but like if Dota for me is not that exciting, then like I've been playing Dota for 15 years, it's not going to stop anytime soon. And I have to imagine that for the general public, it's not that interesting playing Dota.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right.
What's up, guys? Just a quick thank you for listening to this show, and a quick reminder that you can follow us on Spotify, Google, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And specifically for Apple, if you were to leave us a review, rating us 5 stars, and we read your review on the show, Joey will send you a special gift, like Hungry Phoenix, who said, best Dota podcast, longtime listener, finally getting around to this review, really enjoying the chemistry and guess and the balance between Dota and real life. Question for Cap, do you think it would be beneficial for up-and-coming aspirational talent to have a professional training, either degree, say in radio broadcast or vocal training or something like that? To keep it short and sweet, absolutely. Pretty much any career you have, there's going to be some sort of education that can further your development in your career. That's why part of the reason why I've taken voice acting, why I intend to be able to take improv classes in the future. Always keep on working to educate yourself more, especially if it's around your job. We are also going to be doing something different. We are going to try out having you guys call on the show. Now, obviously, it's not a live show, so what we're going to do instead is have a voicemail. So you guys, if you have any sort of questions or comments or anything like that you want to have on the show, you can go ahead and call us up and leave a voicemail for us. That number is going to be 805-328 4024 4024. Joey, I'm sure, will link it at the bottom or something like that with flashing images like in those 80s commercials. Great. Back to the show.
I really want to know what they're thinking about DPC wise, because originally in a pre-corona world, like they were giving out. I don't think they awarded any contracts, but they were taking bids from all these organizations before this all happened, with trying to make like a decision about it nice and early. But now there's even more tournament organizers who are doing things similar enough to the DPC or what they like wanted to do, that they have like a track record. So it feels weird to maybe award someone a contract based on a deadline in something that was, 3 months ago. We were living in a completely different world, not to be too hyperbolic, but like, how can you really just judge those submissions from January as opposed to what people are doing now? Like, maybe this blast event that's going on, they decide like, wow, maybe they should be doing EU CIS Dota. Maybe all the stuff we play is doing has really won someone over. Like, it feels weird that there wouldn't be a process to change the DPC a little bit, have organizations potentially even reapply or resubmit like bids. Because everything's different. Maybe the DPC starts around TI time. Maybe it starts this summer. Maybe it starts next week. Like, I'm so,
yeah.
I think the biggest question mark.
I think a lot of these tournament organizers are hoping that, like, by throwing some of these online tournaments and showing putting on a good show. The problem is that I don't think. Okay, so We Play looks really good, right? As it always does, right? Their presentation of their product is really good, but I feel like the actual content of it is not that nice. Like the show that they're putting on, the commercial stuff that they do, like all that like Dota SFM videos that they create, they're still doing that. The product looks really nice. I just feel like content wise, maybe it's just because the few number of talent that they have or something. Maybe, like I don't know, like I was a part of the show for ESL1 Los Angeles. Maybe it was the same for that too, because we didn't have that many people. But I feel like it's rather stale. I like to think that ESL1 Los Angeles wasn't like that. I thought our LA online tournament was quite good, but when I'm watching We Play, there's something about it that just feels very dull. And that's not a harp on anybody who's working there or anything like that. I just something's missing from the We Play event from before. Feels like they're not giving the talent as much like, hey, here's this thing, react to it. And like there's a fun moment that's created. When the We Play I was working with before, they were great about that stuff. And that's why so many good things came out of that Christmas event.
It seems talent driven to me, like not to throw anyone under the bus. I don't think it's any particular person or thing in general, but I think it just might be like a talent thing, which feels shitty because I should be able to enjoy watching Dota no matter who's there. If there's like a certain level of like caster or analyst, like I don't want to watch Joe Smo from the Whole Foods talk about it, but anyone who is qualified enough to be on stage is probably good enough to do the job. But I feel less excited about watching it for some reason. And like my gut says that it's because I'm less excited about the people who are there, but I don't know. That feels weird. I'm excited about the games, kind of. That might just be because I'm wearing a Liquid hoodie and the team's doing very well. Like,
dude, Liquid is destroying right now. Holy crap, dude! Blitz is definitely in the best possible position, right? Because he was working LA, so therefore he couldn't really coach them that much. Then he isn't working We Play, so he is able to commit to coaching, and all of a sudden they're doing much better, right? Whether or not that he's actually having impact, right? His impact could be 0%. His impact could be he's the entire reason that they look like such a good team. Either way, it doesn't really matter because it just looks really good for him right now,
it's
right?
Great optics.
Exactly. Like if you're the organization, if you're the players themselves, you're going like, Blitz is really important for us. We need him around.
I think they've always thought that. Like, it seems like they have a very big kinship for him in general. But like, yeah, how you can't deny that after beating Enigma's secret OG VP all in succession, like that's the 4 best European teams just being taken down in succession. So then that, just makes the argument that if you're looking at this piece in time, that maybe Liquid is one of, if not the best European teams right now, which is a wild conversation to be having given, the time they had before this, or not being out of groups, or just the team in general. I feel like no one's really committed to that group of players, even since they were on Alliance, to being like, number one. They've always been like in the conversation, but never like they're not secret or they're not OG.
Yeah. They were a dark horse, right? They're a team that you could say like, oh, they'll probably be top 8 at this group, but maybe they can make a deep run. Top 4, top 3, maybe grand finals is in their vision, And it was the same thing for this last TI. Unfortunately, it ended how it did in that best of one. But they were in that conversation of maybe they can make a deep run, but their baseline is a top 8 team. And from what I understand, it's just this is something that their consistency will grow with time because they are not as experienced and talented as the best teams, right? Like Secret can show up with 0 practice whatsoever and probably place top 4 every single time at a tournament because they're just that goddamn good, right? Every single one of their positions, they're all very, very talented, and they most of them have a lot of experience when it comes to the game and playing at the highest level. Liquid, you can't really say the same thing about them, right?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll always root for teams, regardless of who gives me paychecks, who feel like friends. Something about that feels dope and rad to me. So that's why I liked Alliance. That's why I'm excited to still enjoy the team being on Liquid for a dozen reasons. But anytime that a team feels like there's some kind of kinship or friendship and they're not just like a group of superpowers going after TI money, like something about that is cool to me. That's why old Alliance felt cool to me.
So what about Dendi? Are you a big Dendi fan? He's such a friendly guy.
I feel like I enjoy the aura of Dendi, the theory of Dendi, the history of Dendi. I would be lying if I said I was ever like a Dendi Dota fan. I was never like a mid player. It's actually mid is my worst role to play by like a large margin. I was never really a mid player. I wasn't really following Dota the way that I am now around like TI1 and before phases when like Dendi was Dendi, right? So I don't think he ever had that allure to me as someone who is this titan of industry, but it's hard to deny that that man has just a raw amount of charisma, right? Like if you were making your Fallout character, the C stat is just maxed out.
Yes, Dendi is incredibly charismatic like that. Even when you're talking to him like off camera and stuff, like he still gives off that same happy-go-lucky vibe at all times. It feels like just very open to talk to, just a genuinely like nice guy. You get the same kind of feeling from him as GH, in that they're just, you can feel how nice they are, how friendly they are, but at the same time, there aren't many Bait fans because you have to be a little bit of a masochist to be a fan of any team that Dendi is on.
Dude, hold on. I have, if you give me a hot second, I have the stat here because I remember that they set a record recently, right? They set a record starting on the
January, April 17th was their first loss. And they've continued that losing streak until today, May 9th. That is 24 total games, Joey.
They've lost 24 games in a row. Is that like single games? Is that series? I think that's series. They've lost 24 series in a row. Like,
no, that is individual. That's
individual games. So
yes.
They haven't even like won one game in a best of 3.
No. Like every single time, like I follow the Bait because my good friend Moose is part of that organization, and I really like Dendi and I like Moose a lot, and I want that organization to do well and stuff, and so I follow their Twitter. And every single time they're like, here's the results of this game, and they've got a nice fancy graphic every single time. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. It's terrible. This team just cannot seem to, like, people were clowning on Cloud9 to no end, right? They were just like, this team is like 3-21. They could get the 3-2-2 drain and stuff like that. But like, Bait literally can't just win a game. They can't do anything, man.
Why?
It's awful. They finally announced that they were going to take a break from competitive play. I don't know, like, just disband at that point, like.
I can see why it's cool to have like Dendi make a team. Like, it would be really exciting if the team was doing well, because then there'd be all these stories about like, whoa, Dendi, he can still play with the best of them, and look at this ragtag group of people in this new organization. That's cool. I'm gonna buy a Bait jersey. I was always saying B8 in my head. Apparently that's wrong. Oops.
They said it's either way.
Okay. That's nice. I like that.
The implication is, yes, it's Bait, because it's a hook and all that sort of thing. But
it's
you can
a
call
hook,
him B8 as well.
and also like Bait's like a Dota term or just like a gaming term.
Yes.
I get it. It's really they really thought about this. They way more than I have. Clearly,
it works on a lot of levels.
Because it's not just Dendi, right? It's LeBron, it's King R, it's Excalibur.
They now have Excalibur on that team. Yeah.
Is Excalibur? He's someone who, when I think about Excalibur, I still think about like old Fnatic standard Excalibur from like 6 years ago, and that's it.
Yes, that was his peak as a player. He never really got into a better position from there. He was like one of those first, like that was the day and age of Samael, right?
Yeah.
Of like Samael coming up in, right? Excalibur is a great example of that same player not making it, right? Not being able to prove themselves. They come up, they hit a certain peak, and then they immediately drop out of existence. They were not quite good enough. For whatever reason, like I'm not the one to say, like, I don't really know why he wasn't good enough. But like, for whatever reason, after Fnatic, no good teams wanted to play with him, right? He played on Horde. He's played on Bait, Singularity. Like, none of those teams are good. Right?
It's wild when I look at a player like that, and I go to their Wikipedia page, and I see that Excalibur, I just counted, has been on 21 teams.
Oof.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's a sign of sorts.
It does. I guess it's a little bit. It's signed multiple ways. It says something about staying power. Like clearly he's not, broken enough to where no one wants to play with him, right? Like he jumbles and jumps around enough to. He's probably played with more people than most other people have.
Yeah, probably. But man, yeah, it just like I had hopes because the original roster when they first saw it, I saw LeBron. I was like, maybe this team could be something. But in full honesty, when they changed the lineup and they picked up Excalibur, I was just like, oh, so that's where you think you are. Like that is the level of regard that other players have for your lineup at that point in time, right? Because Excalibur is in a position he would basically take any potentially good offer, I imagine, right? He does not have good prospects. And I imagine that Excalibur was not their first person on the line, right? The only tier 1, quote unquote, tier 1 player on that lineup is LeBron. He has proven himself on a tier 1 stage to be pretty good. He can put in some work, but everybody else is kind of like, King R has been around for like forever, man. Like when you have some of these players, because here's what it is in this team game, your reputation does matter quite a bit, right? How people view you. Take Soxa, for an example. Like if he had played on other lineups after Planet Odd, right? After that he got second in TI and then didn't make TI the next year. If he had continued to play on tier 2 teams, his stock would have been so low that he probably wouldn't have been in consideration for OG. But instead, he didn't play on those teams. He was pretty much like out of commission for a while, out of competitive play. He grinded up. He got like 3 different accounts in the top 4 of the European leaderboard. And that's probably what sparked OG to be like, what about Soxa? He was really good. Your reputation matters a lot. And Bates' reputation and the individual players' reputations on each one, it's just like, it's not like bad as in like, oh, I don't want to play with that guy because he's toxic. It's just like, those guys have all had their chance and they have not proven it on the tier 1 to be able to play at LANs, to be able to qualify for LANs.
They're no one's first choice. Like if you're making a group play dodgeball playground pick of all these players, you get them in a row. No one's gonna be like, I want you first. So
yeah.
That's a good point. It's really interesting to think about Sasuke that way. I've never. I realized that he did, kind of go into the shadows a little bit. But hearing him back on OG, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. This person does exist, and they are someone who did get second at TI. And you don't think about them as like, someone who left DC and then went to go play for some tier 2, tier 3 team just because they could. So maybe more people should.
Yeah, think about every other player on that roster, right? That DC lineup. You had Misery, who was the captain, right? He should have the most acclaim. And he did all right for himself, like a little bit afterwards, but like, it's been slowly declining, slowly but surely, and now he's not really in a great position. He's also one of the oldest players out there. But yeah, then there's Moo, right? Moo, not really that highly regarded. Like on the international scene, right? He's still one of the best carries you can get your hands on in NA. But he does have a very specific play style, and he doesn't always clutch it for his team. Every single Moo lineup seems to have the same kind of idea of Dota. I don't know if that's coincidence or if it's Moo himself, but like every single Moo lineup since DC is running the same kind of Timbersaw lineups. It's crazy.
Yeah, who were the other? There was also Resolution and Weehaw.
Yes.
So
Weehaw, his stock went down a bit because he eventually ended up in South America, and he was just like, I just want to be able to play. I just want to be able to play and make LAN events, and he did some pretty good work on Pain Gaming, and now he had a little bit of a lull, but now he's on Nigma, right? And he's in this great spot. Resolution had, his stock was definitely declining, but at the same time, it was always held like he's really good because every single time at TI, he shows up. When he was a stand-in for Empire, right? He was the best player on Empire and was carrying them through that lower bracket. So it was like you can be on a bad team, but you kind of need to be a 4 or 1 or maybe 2 position, which your individual performance does shine and people are able to recognize it. So like you're still held in contention to be a tier 1. You know, like, oh, maybe we can grab this guy and pull him up to the tier 1. And he did, right? He ended up being on VP. Now, even though he's had to change position, he's in a great place. VP is kicking some ass. They're not dominating, but they're doing okay for themselves.
This is just giving me an idea that we need to have like a stock trading game for players worse. Right? Like where's our Dota player stock market? I want to have like a big chart behind me and I can sit here yelling at it and yelling about how Sumail's stock is going up or down in EG and or OG, excuse me. Oh, what year is it?
Yeah. Yeah, a good example. OG is actually a great example of how stocks can go up and down, right? Because 33 stock, he was on Ninjas the Pajamas. He was on Alliance, right? No longer on that team, gets kicked alongside Fada, goes on OG. OG goes on this crazy like tear at ESL 1. Not that they win the event or anything, but they looked good despite the fact that they had stand-ins and they had double offlaners and all this sort of, they were running mid-chen and stuff. But 33 looked like a beast, you know? And like his stock should be very high for whatever next team he's going to be getting. So and then they've had who have they had on their lineup now for WePlay? They changed who is standing in because 33 is no longer with them, and I remember they're not doing as well. And I remember specifically thinking, oh, this has an impact on this person's career if this OG does not do well.
Well, because it's Sumail, mid one, Seb, Saska, no.
Wish. They have Wish, who is this Georgian player? Yeah, Georgian player. And then they also had Quinn. But Quinn's in a more solid place. But like Wish, his stock really could have rose if OG did really well in that group stage. Instead, they did very poorly and went 1-5. It got knocked out. So, you know.
Poor guy.
It might not even be his fault, but the illusion is there that it is his fault. You know?
It's easy to be scapegoated when you're just that person, right?
Yeah. And so therefore your reputation among other players and other teams is not going to be as held as high, and you won't get those same kind of offers.
It's so wild when I see the Georgia flag on Wikipedia, because I feel like we don't see a lot of that ever. So yeah. Dude's got to do it for representation. Oh man. Anywho, I feel like we should ride the promo pony into the stable to park it at the barn so that we can hop into the barn and have a barn raising. Am I mixing metaphors?
Where the fuck are you going? Where is this going? Joey, I'm lost. I'm the passenger in this car that you're driving. And I don't know where the fuck we're going.
Just hard went into the side rail. I'm like, oh, let's wrap up, and then I had no more words to say. I should stay up less eating pie in the middle of the night and just practice speaking, because apparently
don't be like Joey. If you at home, Joey's he is fortunate enough to be able to work his job from home, so he has to work some sort of schedule right now. But don't be like Joey in your day-to-day life and staying up until 4 a.m. eating pie and watching Avatar. Try and get a schedule set for yourself.
I highly recommend Cap's advice. You should set a schedule. It's very helpful. I'm a big fan of also setting goals for yourself, like in general, but also during quarantine. Learn a new skill.
Yeah, Joey can be a degenerate because it's his weekend, you know? It's his weekend, so he can be a degenerate all he wants. But if you're not working, if you don't have a schedule right now, set some goals for yourself.
One goal should be to listen to the podcast and tell multiple friends about it. Because if your friends like Dota, they'll probably like this show like you like this show. If you're gonna be in your 5-stack later, you should be like, guys, have you listened to the Side Pull podcast? Because it's actually kind of good. You should tell them that. Word of mouth is so it's the best marketing. So I need you to market for free and tell your friends. That's the social capital, right? Right?
Yes. And especially since right now people are not listening to podcasts. So your help is it's like percentage wise is way more valuable than it's ever been.
Yeah, it's fine for us. Oh, you know what? I just got an idea. We should get one of those chat bots that spam all the regional chats for to be like, listen, come buy our boosting service, or like we should just get people in chat to spam our Spotify link.
I gained 500 MMR by listening to this podcast.
That would be so, dude. That's some kind of marketing. And we're not actually being shitty people, right? Because it's not like we're trying to like scam someone like everyone else is. We're just trying to show them good stuff that they might not otherwise see. I'm going to look into this.
Okay.
Yeah? Is that
sure?
Can you not endorse that?
Sure,
Would you be mad if that happened?
If I see a side poll podcast in my Los Angeles, California regional chat in Dota 2 and it's spamming our podcast, then I will be both simultaneously ashamed and proud, as I frequently am, of our work here on this podcast. So
sometimes I talk in the regional chats and it can be fun. It can be fun when there's not bots in there. You can really get to meet your fellow people. You can be like, hey man, are you also missing going out to Portos? I sure love Burbank. And then people are just like, yeah, dude, I love Portos. And then it's like, you get this community sense. Regional chats are cool. I feel like they get shit on too much because of the bots. That being said,
real quickly, Portos, you can do pickup. Ellie and I did it the other day. It's great.
That's right. You can
grabbed a bunch of baked goods.
Man,
excellent.
What's this is a conversation that honestly shouldn't be on the podcast because no one aside from like Charlie might be excited by this, but I don't know who the fuck else will be. What's
That's like exactly why it goes in anyway. Go on.
What's your Portos preference? Because I'm a strong
turkey croissant sandwich.
Turkey croissant sandwich?
Instantly, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No,
I love a good croissant and I love turkey sandwiches. So it's perfect.
Where do you fall on the potato balls versus meat pie debate?
I can go. I'm more in the meat pies, than the potato balls, but they're both good.
I like both. I generally get more potato balls. I'm a big potato ball person, which I get it. It's basic. It's their thing, but I'm also basic when I want to be sometimes. Can't be hipster everywhere, right?
You're a basic bitch. I understand.
Stop. I'm a big, if you ever find yourself at a Portos, you should get some cheese rolls. Big cheese roll pastry pusher, everybody. Potato balls, cheese rolls. If you ever find yourself in the Los Angeles area, there's enough of them. You should 100% make it a goal to do that. Just don't travel right now. I would have told people about this at ESL 1 LA. I would have brought potato balls to ESL, but that event is never going to happen, and I'm still sad about it, and we should stop pretending like it will.
I don't think anyone's pretending but you, Joey.
Damn it. Man, anyone watching the video, anytime I touch or move the desk, the webcam just gets so shaky. It's in such a bad spot. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's fuck. The wheels came off the car. We're just hard pulling the emergency brake. See you next time with a guest. I think probably.
Yeah,
almost certainly.
We'll have a guest.
I'd say 90% we'll have a guest next week, which gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Never promise someone 100%.
Listen, they should just be happy we talked about Dota for once.
And they're like, oh, Cap's not even playing Dota. He lost his passion. That's going to be the Reddit thread.
Dude, every single time I go back on to stream, I don't know if we're cutting the podcast at this point already, but all I know, every single time I'm streaming and I'm playing a non-Dota game, like someone will come in and try guilt trip me. Like I haven't spent like literally tens of thousands of hours playing Dota. Like small break does not kill my passion.
What do you respond to that person with? Do you engage with them?
I engage with everybody that I read, but I don't read chat that often. So, but I always engage. I'm not here to make friends or grow my stream, Joey. I'm here to ridicule and demean people when I can.